Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Pflugerville, on this beautiful Sunday morning. My name is Val Cary. I am filling in for Reverend Test. I am a prayer chaplain here and a licensed Unity teacher candidate, and am honored to be here with you this morning. The Reverend and the Mrs. Test should be docking right about now in Galveston and on their way back home, and so we can't wait to hear the stories that they're going to share with us, and they'll be back with us next Sunday. I am talking this morning about the 12 powers, and I'm going to give a little bit of an overview, and then I'm going to talk about 4 specific powers when used together, how they can improve your life. So faith, order, strength, and imagination. And so when Charles Fillmore studied the life, teachings, and the resurrection of Jesus, he discovered what he termed the 12 powers, which he said, when developed, would lead to physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual renewal and regeneration. The information that I'm talking about this morning primarily comes from the teachings of Dr. Reverend Paul Hasselbeck, who was a Dean of Instruction for the Spiritual Education and Enrichment Program at Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute for over 10 years. He has written extensively about the 12 powers, and his focus is interpreting the original concepts of Charles Fillmore for modern readers. And I also brought you information from Ed Rabel, who was ordained as a minister in 1958 and was a contemporary of Charles and knew Charles quite well. Ed co-authored the original course guide that we now know as Metaphysics 1 and Metaphysics 2, and was one of the top 2 to 3 ministers that came out of Unity to teach the Metaphysical Bible. Charles taught that divine ideas come from divine mind. And we know that God, divine mind, is omniscience, all-knowing, omnipotence, all-power, and omnipresence, everywhere present. And we know that we are that also, that we are one with the divine. So we are all-knowing. We are all power, and that power is everywhere present within us. Therefore, the one mind contains all, and all ideas exist in the one mind. In a healing conference that Charles led in 1923, he said that divine ideas only do what man says they shall do. Divine ideas are our servant. Did you ever think of that? That this wonderful spirit of divine ideas, out of which everything is made, is here at all times, is always present with us, and that we are using these divine ideas. So the 12 powers are 12 fundamental ideas originating in divine mind. They are faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, elimination, and life. Regarding the 12 powers, Paul Hasselbeck teaches that everyone has them, whether conscious or not. Everyone is using them, whether they're aware or not. The powers do not care how they are used. They can be overdeveloped or they can be underdeveloped, and they can be used from all states of consciousness and all levels of consciousness. Interestingly, Ed Rabel said he had a different idea, that the 12 powers don't need to be developed, that they are already developed. We just need to develop our consciousness. We need to develop our consciousness of them and our willingness to let them expressed through us. So maybe it's not about being underdeveloped or being overdeveloped, but are we underexpressing them or are we overexpressing them? We talked about we can use them at various levels, unconsciously or consciously. So let's talk a little bit about how we can use them consciously. We can use them to change our outer circumstance. We can use them to change our inner thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. We can use them to be the best Christ that we can be, to actualize that Christ that we already are. Ed Rabel said that once we know what the 12 powers are, how they function, and we believe in them, that we should be thinking of them not individually, but as the 12, because they do work together. He said that anything that good that happens to you is able to happen to you because of your 12 powers. They are the Christ in you. All 12 are involved in all blessings. And he uses this really neat analogy. Like a football team, maybe one carried the ball, but all 12 had to be on the field, working together and supporting each other. So today, as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about 4 of them together and how they work together. When you use them in conjunction with each other, they can be amplified. And so I'm going to talk about how faith can be amplified with strength, imagination, and order. So let me define for you faith. It is the ability to believe, to spiritually intuit, to perceive, to hear, and to have conviction. Faith keeps us steady during shifty worldly circumstances and us being not focused on the things of the world, but instead on the divine. And we know how important that is right now. If we think about the state of the world and how unsure everything needs, that's where activating our faith really helps us to navigate some of the uncertainty. We use faith to believe and spiritually intuit that I am Christ, regardless of outer circumstances. It is your great affirmative power, your power to say yes to God, yes to truth, yes to good, yes to all divine ideas. This is the main job of your faith power, to say yes to all divine ideas. Faith is the power most responsible for causing divine ideas to no longer be just ideas, but to become your experiences. Okay, let's talk about strength. Faith with strength to be steadfast during uncertainty. Strength is the ability to endure, stay the course, last, be persistent, persevere, to be stable based on principles and divine ideas. Also, it's our ability to be steadfast, to be dependable, to be stable, to endure, based on our senses, thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. So we use strength to be persistent in being that best Christ consciousness that we can be, to act in oneness, to act in wholeness, even though we might not really want to, we might not have the energy to, or we just don't really know how to at that point in time. Ed Rabel says strength can be described as our power of indestructibility. And sometimes we don't feel indestructible. Sometimes we feel really fragile. But when we can remember that we cannot be destroyed, our true essence is indestructible. Our body might die, but we live on. We are an indestructible being. The strength of spirit, the strength of God that manifest, and we make it manifest through our human experience. Faith with strength is knowing beyond any circumstance that you have the ability to endure whatever may come your way. So let's talk about imagination. Imagination is a good one. Faith with imagination can be inventive when met with stagnation. So let me give you the dictionary definition of imagination. It's the state of not flowing or moving, the lack of activity, growth, or development. So when you're not in the flow, when you're stuck, when you don't know what to do, when answers don't seem to be making themselves known. Imagination is the ability to visualize, conceptualize, and envision. We can visualize, conceptualize, and envision based on our senses, our thoughts, our beliefs, and our feelings. We can also use imagination from an elevated consciousness by conceptualizing, envisioning, and visualizing based on divine ideas and principles. When we know the truth of who we are, when we know our power, when we know our way, when we listen within, we envision ourselves being the best Christ consciousness that we can be. Imagination is your power to project formless mental energy into thoughts and patterns. We've heard Reverend Tess talk in the past about energy being formless, energy being that which is unseen. So formless mental energy only becomes manifest in our lives when we use that power of imagination to take this formless mental energy and give it form, shape, color, which we also call thought. This is the imaging, forming power of your mind, and it's how you take a thought, and then you can make that thought become manifest. And you do this through your imagination. And what's really interesting is my imagination is different than Paul's imagination, than Tommy's, than everybody on this side of the row. And what's so great about that is that it's based on our past experiences. And so we're all given our past, what's happened to us, that forms who we are. And so we can take from that blessed experience and use that in our imagination to give us thoughts as to what's best for us at a certain period of time. Faith with imagination is knowing beyond any circumstance you have the ability to form new ideas, images, and concepts, to be creative and resourceful, to bring about your highest and your best. Okay, so the final one, let's talk about order. Faith with order, to be adaptable when faced with changing circumstances. And we know that life in this human realm comes with so much change, so much uncertainty, so much doubt. So we use order as the ability to organize, sequence, balance, and adjust. So order is your power by which you establish harmony, balance, right adjustment, and right sequence of action in your life. First things first. Second things second. Right sequence, right connection. So order is your ability to organize, sequence, balance, and adjust based on your senses, your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, but then from a higher level of consciousness, based on divine ideas, based on principle, based on law. So we use order to adjust and organize our thoughts and our feelings to be the best Christ consciousness that we can be. So faith with order is knowing beyond any circumstance that when your humanity is synchronized with your inherent divinity, you can use anything and everything for good. And that is so important if we think about things appearing in our lives and we're like, why is this here? Wow, maybe I need to do something with this. Maybe this is information that's being given to me to help my life proceed to that next step, that next place. We think about Paul and Sherry. We've been to Arizona, and in the ways in which they've used the power of order in their lives to figure out, how are we going to get there? What do we need to take? What do we need to leave behind? You know, the weeks that you've spent house hunting, you know, you did that in a very orderly manner, and you trusted your Christ consciousness and your higher good to lead you to the right perfect house. So in closing, the most important thing about using the 12 powers is about raising our consciousness. It is upgrading one thought, one idea, or one belief at a time. Let go of that which no longer serves you. Activate the good that is already in you. Remember, your 12 powers are innate. They're already there. They're already going. It's up to you to choose how to use them, how to activate them, how to strengthen them, how to refine them. Imagine a trinity of prayer, meditation, and using your 12 powers to improve your life. I have a small card from Unity that I keep near my desk that reads, "Easily, gracefully, I release the past so that I'm free in this moment for all that is possible right now." And I'd like to ask you, what is possible for you? Thank you.